Hi everyone, it's John Arnold here from The Practical Disciple, and I want to take a few minutes to talk to you about prayer and an opportunity coming up in the next, 7 to 10 days or so that you can take advantage of to really get better in prayer. And what I find is that when people grow in prayer, they have more peace in their life, they've got more joy, they are more grounded and centered in God. So if something goes awry in their world, they can deal with it better. I ran into this last night. I was, some of you guys are friends with me on Facebook, and you saw me go into a little bit of a rant. I got in a tizzy because I'm about to go into a 5-day free promotion for my book, Tips on Prayer. That's going to be March 1st through 5th. I'll talk about that in a moment. And I went online, and my book, I couldn't get into it on Amazon, and it looked like the promotion dates weren't set up, and I'd done this stuff days ago, and the whole thing looked like it was falling apart, 24 hours before it's supposed to go live. And I started getting all panicked, and like Chicken Little was shouting online about my situation and asking people to pray about it because I really didn't know what I was going to do. And I realized that's exactly what I needed to do, was I needed to slow down and pray. And with the encouragement of some of my friends online, I, took a few deep breaths, decided I need to be still before God and realized God's God. And I went in and I knelt down in my prayer closet and just started lifting the problem up to God, and immediately had this strong assurance of this is really going to be okay, and you're making a bigger deal out of it than it is. You can't change anything about it. Let go of it and go to bed. And I did, and I let go of it, and I had peace about it. Had my situation changed? Absolutely not. Not when I went to bed. I was in the same place, but I was dealing with it very differently because I had taken time out to pray. Now, prayer does, in fact, I think also change situations. I did go to bed, I let go of that thing, I woke up the next morning, and somehow in the middle of the night, everything that I was experiencing online the evening before had resolved itself. Amazon sent me a message, said your book's live, good to go, and I really think that a lot of that was in response to some of the prayer that people put out there. But I know beyond a shadow of doubt the peace that I had came from slowing down to pray. But there are so many folks who just unnecessarily struggle with prayer. I talk to people about prayer all the time, and they share things with me like, I don't know what to say when I pray. I just kind of feel at a loss for how the conversation flow should be between themselves and God. Or they may feel guilty because they have a habit of just coming to God when things get really hard and ignoring God at other times, and they don't feel good about that, because it's kind of like God's this rough weather friend or something. Focus, that's a huge issue. Probably the number one issue people come to me with about prayer is I sit down to pray, and I start praying, and I have all the intent in the world of having this wonderful time with God, and the next thing I'm doing is I'm thinking about my grocery list and what I need to get done at work the next day, and who knows what else, but suddenly all these thoughts just attack me from nowhere, and then I'm not praying, and then I feel guilty about that. Well, all of those things and a whole lot more are really manageable problems. In fact, everything that I just said, each one of those things, I could sit down with you for a few minutes and probably give you kind of a palm to forehead, oh duh moment of going, gosh, that makes total sense that I could correct this problem with that simple action. But it's not that simple unless you've done it, unless you've been there. And I've spent the last 25, 30 years literally of my life with a passion for prayer and researching, and I've gone books and retreats. I've read books, gone on retreats. I've done all kinds of crazy stuff trying to understand prayer and make it just as simple as I possibly could make it for people. And I finally, a year and a half ago, felt called and led to take the best of the best things that I had found and put them in an easy form for people to access. And I created the book, Tips on Prayer, a quick start guide for improving your prayer life. And it's very step by step. There's 20 tips in it, and within those tips there's a whole lot of additional techniques and learning along the way. But what I discovered is that, to improve our prayer life, there's really only 5 things. I call them the 5 pillars of life-changing prayer that we have to concern ourselves with. And once we see and understand those 5 things, it's just a matter of recognizing what it takes to strengthen the one we're struggling with. So in the book, I lay out the 5 pillars of life-changing prayer, and then literally on a chart, I show you exactly what tools or techniques you can use to strengthen those things. Like focus is one of the 5. If you're struggling with focus, I have a chart. You look at focus and you go down it and you see this tip, this tip, this tip, and this tip. I can pick those and they'll help me focus better when I pray. So this is the manual that I wish somebody had given me when I was really early on in my faith. I do think, and I've gotten feedback from multiple people through Amazon reviews or directly to me, that whether you're new in prayer or you're a veteran of prayer, you're going to find tips in this that will help you grow in prayer. But here's the deal. I created this thing called the 40-Day Challenge, and this is why. Books are awesome. Books don't mean anything until you apply what's in them. And we almost always succeed better if we don't go that alone. So I want to lay a challenge out to you, and my challenge is simply this. I want you to go download the book for free between March 1st and March 5th. It will not cost you anything. You go to Amazon, Tips on Prayer, click the download button. I'll have a link below this video that you can click on to go get it. If you don't have a Kindle, that's really okay. Amazon has a reader so that you can read a Kindle book on any device you can think of, just about. Your phone, your tablet, your iPad, your laptop, whatever. There's a free app you can download. You can get the book. But once you download that, take a few days, skim through it, pick out one tip that calls to you, and just commit yourself to practicing that one tip every day for 40 days and see if it doesn't change how you pray and have an impact really on your life and your relationship with God. I say this because as I was going through one of the reviews, this is kind of what inspired me. One of the people who wrote got tongue-tied, who wrote a review about a year plus ago, they said if you took just one of these tips, just one, it would make an impact on your life. And I read that and I knew that to be true, because all the things in there are things that I've done and I've seen the impact. But also I've handed them to other people and they've applied them and seen amazing results. Last year I did a course on prayer online because one of the folks that read that book, he said, I'm sorry, but I have to admit I never finished the book, but I took one of the first tips, which was creating a daily devotional time, and I did do that, and it changed everything for me. They went from being someone who was kind of a nominal Christian to really feeling like they had a dynamic living relationship with God, and they saw things changing in their life. They were getting rid of behaviors they knew they needed to get rid of because they were convicted about that in prayer. They were praying about things that they needed, desired in their life that were good and godly things, and they began to see God respond to that and their life change. So I know that just taking one thing and applying it for 40 days can make a life-changing difference for someone. Now here's the thing though, when we try to do that stuff alone, we usually don't do as well. At least that's been my experience. So I want to give you every opportunity to succeed, and this is what I'm willing to do. Not only am I making the book available for free, but I've already put together a private Facebook community for anyone who takes the 40-day challenge. And that's a place where we can get together and you can share what you're doing and questions you have and struggles and encourage one another and celebrate victories. That's always fun. I've done that in some mastermind groups that I have for other disciplines, and it has just taken my learning curve and from a linear progression to something that was exponential by having people I could turn to. The other thing is I want to be there personally for you to help you out. So I have scheduled a webinar for, let me think, I believe it's Saturday, March 8th. And this is a jumpstart webinar that is a few days into people being in their routine, so that you're going to have some questions about what you're doing probably, and I want to be there to answer those questions. So this will be a Q&A webinar for anybody who's in the 40-day challenge, and whatever questions you got about what you're trying to do, if you're hitting your head against the wall, let me know and I'll help you out in that webinar. I'm going to start my discipline on March 5th. That's the last day that the book is free. It also is Ash Wednesday, and I'm going to start then and practice it until Easter, taking Sundays off, and we'll see what happens during that 40 days. I'm convinced that God's going to do some pretty amazing things in people's lives if they just commit to one tip. So that's your invite, your challenge, whatever you want to consider it. Here's what I would invite you to do right now. Between March 1st and 5th, go download the book for free. If you already have it, you can also go in and update and get the second edition under Manage Your Kindle. You'll see a little Update Your Book button. You can update it. Big blue button below that says Sign Up. Press that button. It'll tell you exactly what you need to do to notify me that you're doing the 40-day challenge, so that I can send you an invite to the private Facebook group and an invitation to the webinar. So, and I'll probably do more than one webinar. You guys who've done learning online with me know that I always get too excited about this stuff and I can't hold back, and I want to do more with you. So it's just really fun to interact, and I learn and grow so much from that. So there's my invitation to this challenge for you. I look forward to hearing your comments. Interact with me. Like this. Go like Tips on Prayer on Facebook, if you would, please. Share this with a friend if you think it would be a valuable experience to do together. You've got a week to 10 days or so. I will say this: I am going to close the door on both that community and that webinar at some point, because if I'm going to stay true to my promise of being able to help you out directly, I have to limit the size of that group. I don't know what that means yet. I'm going to just watch and see how it develops. But I will limit it. It won't be open indefinitely. But I'll give you plenty of notice when that door is going to close. So I hope you'll join me in the 40-day challenge. There's no downside to this. The book's free. It's not going to cost you anything. And worst case scenario, you're going to learn and know a whole lot more about prayer than you do right now. But if you do nothing, this much I can guarantee you: nothing's going to change. You have an opportunity here to really change your prayer life and your relationship with God, and see more peace, more joy flow into your life. So listen, blessings, and I look forward to seeing you soon in the 40-day challenge or another video. Bye now.